Can we start with team news for the weekend? Is there anything to note for?
Ádám Nagy won't be with us because he's back at home in Hungary for a family funeral, which he's had to carry the weight over the last few weeks, and I think he's conducted himself very well. So he's back at home.
Sorry to hear that. Please pass on my condolences. Is Famara Jesus in contention this weekend?
No. Fam won't be available for this weekend. But we're looking not too bad. It's good to have Andy Weimann and Chrissy Martin back with us now, every day training. But it's the end of the season's unfortunately come too quickly for them. But it's really good to get them back amongst the playing squad because they look really good. They're in good condition. So it's a shame that they're not available, but really good to get them back in amongst us.
Sure, they're obviously ones for pre-season, aren't they? Next.
I mean, but the close season is also, the off-season period for players coming back from injury is really critical for us, that we manage them as well as possible, and so that they are confident in starting back training with the rest of the players. So it's going to be a different close season to many others because of the travel restrictions and so the possibilities of people getting away for the periods that they normally would will be very limited. It's we in football are not exempt from travel regulations. Let's put it like that.
Sure. And on Famara Jesus, then, is that the last we've probably seen of him as a Bristol City player? He was the club's record signing when he arrived at the club, or do you still harbour any hope that you might be able to keep him?
Well, I had a chat with him today, but at the moment, as I've said to you before, Gregor, I'm really reluctant before the season's over to really discuss individuals' future, just because I think it's really important that we finish the season before these types of issues are dealt with in any great detail. I think out of respect for all the individuals, I think it's very important to keep the same sort of line from my own perspective. So I'm not trying to be evasive. It's something that is, I think, not just my view but the club's view that we need to remain very clear on that situation.
Sure. Just generally speaking, then, is there, not talking individuals here, but is there any interest in your players that you're aware of that you may be having to weigh up and will have to decide on in the summer? Or
there is. Okay, so at the moment, in terms of people making movements for our players, there's nothing that I'm aware of. No. So, and I shouldn't, because the window's not open yet. The season's not over. So if there was movement on players, look, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but the window isn't open. So we'll wait and see. But look, my focus very much is on the game coming up against Brentford, because of the disappointment of how we've finished the season. I think it's really important to remain very much our minds on that. Clearly there are lots of issues that need to be addressed after the end of the season, and those things are being addressed behind the scenes, but it's not really at the moment for, I don't think, public consumption, just because of, like I say, there is a correct way of doing it, and I believe in being as open as possible. But I will be as open as possible publicly once on a one-to-one level, or the relevant parties are that need to know information have been informed. So it's just the way it is at the moment. I don't think we will be doing it particularly differently to many other clubs. There's always going to be speculation at this time of year, which I fully understand. But at the moment, that's not for me to really comment too much on.
Okay, just last one on those. Just are you involved in all those discussions and the things happening behind the scenes, or are you leaving that to the board to sort out?
In regard to players?
Oh no, well, actually players, but also in terms of incoming staff, replacing Mark Ashton, replacing Andy Walls.
Okay, but Mark's situation is different. That's something that's a club policy decision. But of course, my views have been taken into account because we have a very open lines of communication here, which I think is really good. And it's important that I think that particular appointment is good for the club. So, but in terms of everything else, I think it's very important for me to have input, certainly in the players and staff coming in, for sure.
Yeah, sure. I just wondered if you'd maybe left it to somebody else to negotiate on your behalf, or however it works these days, obviously.
Well, look, Gregor, so I think I don't know whether people have a misguided view of what the procedures look like. So it's not about having power; it's about having or control. It's about having an idea what strategically we need to do, and it's about populating the Robins High Performance Centre with the right people, whether it be staff or players, for the interest of the football club. And obviously then, because of my own situation and how I work, one of the side effects is that I get a more efficient staff and a better playing squad. So I'm involved in conversations, of course I am, and I'm here to make decisions in certain areas, but I know my place in the organisation. I think that's really important for people to understand. I'm a team player myself. I'm here because I want to be a part of something which we can create a positive environment and culture, and I'm a part of that. But I also, as I've said before, I know where I sit in it.
You've got Brentford coming next. In some ways, are they the ideal model to try and replicate? Because, well, they're probably in the position, obviously, that Bristol City want to be in terms of nicely placed going into the playoffs. And I think a lot of people in football regard the recruitment that they've done over the last few years as being pretty exemplary.
Well, Norwich and Watford are the two sides that we'd all like to be. And then if you can't be those two, then being in the playoffs is an achievement too. But I think we always have to remember that when we look at clubs like you're alluding to with Brentford, it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, they've had disappointments as well. They've got a very clear strategy in terms of how they recruit, but that doesn't mean it's the same for everybody. But yeah, we are trying to make a shift towards a different type of a recruitment policy, and we are trying to create something which will stand us in good stead for a long period of time. So whoever's in my position, and I've just recently signed a 3-year contract, but I see my role as a custodian, and my role is to play my part in helping the club to develop. What is a part of that, of course, is trying to create a side which is, again, capable of getting success. And we've already talked about achieving Premier League status within 3 years, and that's not an easy thing to do, especially when you think where we currently sit. But that's the plan, and I believe it's achievable. I also believe that providing that we get the foundations in place, both in terms of how we work and the people who work here, we've got a better chance of achieving it. And then, of course, on top of that, recruitment of the right players, whether it be the right style of players, the right types of people. That's very crucial for us as well. So there's always a lot to consider. There's always it's very important to not just reflect on what's happened, but there needs to be a clear picture of how we achieve success, and that everybody who decides to be on the journey is well and truly on it for the duration.
Yeah, Brentford doing very well as one of the sides, obviously without parachute payments, Premier League parachute payments, obviously, but they're the top scorers in the division. Do you have to set out any special plans, or do you approach the game in the same manner as any other game, Nigel?
Well, again, preparation for games and how you approach games on an individual basis is one thing, but what we can't do is go into the game with the same application as last week. It doesn't matter how you prepare for the game, but if you go onto the field and don't do the basics right, then you're going to be struggling. So in this game, it's a big ask for us, but as questions have been continually asked about us, it's our final opportunity of the season to have a performance in which we are pleased with ourselves. It really is straightforward. They're a good side. They've got the top scorer in the league in their team. They play good football. Yes, they're an attacking side. So, on the face of it, difficult. But for me, it's another challenge. I want to see our players come off the field and feel better about themselves. That's the most important thing. And yeah, of course, we need a result, but we certainly don't need a result like the sides who are still in threat of relegation. And we can thank ourselves at the moment pretty lucky that we're not one of those teams, bearing in mind the form that we are showing. But again, that is another opportunity to have a learning experience for us. We can't put ourselves in this position again.
Yeah, sure. And on the application that you mentioned there before, I don't know if you saw the Millwall goalkeeper's comments during the week that Bristol City had looked like they were wanting to be on their holidays and that they didn't care. How does those comments, do you think, sit with the Bristol City changing room? Is that grossly unfair?
It's impossible not to be aware of this story, I think. And I said to the players today, that's like the school bully giving you the Chinese burn that you're not expecting. So we have to take it on the chin, I'm afraid, because we can't. Our comeback to that has to be reflected on how we play this week. So people have their opinions on it. It's a difficult observation to take on board, and I think the worst thing about it is the added comment that we're not. We have good players. So I think that puts some sort of context around how other people see us. We have to do something about it.
Yeah. How did the players react when you said that to them? They feel that that's unfair?
You can ask them when you speak to them next. I think that's the most important thing. I'm only pointing out what was said.
Yeah, we'll see how they get on Saturday then. Thanks very much for your time, Nigel, and good luck.
My pleasure. All right, Gregor, take care, please.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers.